Well, hello and welcome to I Love Gay today. And this is our second, where it's kind of a special episode. And we are here in Birmingham with our co-host, John Godbold from Tales of the City. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Although Tales of the Second City,
The Tales of the Second
I don't want to
City.
steal Armistead Morfin's thunder. Thank you. I'll have his lawyers after me.
The moment that rolled off my tongue, I thought to myself, I need to write this down so I don't do that again.
Fair enough.
But no, it's I'm happy to be here again with you. I think our first show went very well, and especially because our goal and everything we're doing is kind of helping to bring some of the various voices. Really, I Love Gay today is bringing LGBT voices to life and connected throughout the world. And this is special where we're really focusing on Birmingham in the UK and some of the various folks that are activists and business leaders and so forth. And so, and today we're here with George Mattu. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for inviting me to the show.
Well, it's great to have you here. And it's interesting because especially from the outside looking in, here I was on social media, on Twitter, where Twitter seems to connect us globally in a way that other mediums haven't really accomplished that to date. And here I am. And all of a sudden, all this stuff starts kind of pouring through as far as, these protests and so forth in Birmingham. But it was really a one specific profile, which was Birmingham Against Hate. And there was a lot going on, but you were a part of that, yes?
Yes, yeah, quite by accident, but I was happy to be made part of it. I felt like I belonged really once I started to get involved. So I've got a number of friends that are activists and very, very out there on the scene, and you'll find them at most of the protests and rallies. And a number of times I've gone down, just to support them, but always been in the back scene, just holding a placard maybe, or just helping them with the day-to-day running of it. And so recently in the past few years, I've come more to the forefront now, where speaking and being more visible. And when I'm asked to speak at, say, a protest or at a talk or at a film festival even, I'll speak and just give my perspective. So it's nice to have been invited today to give my perspective on anything that you might want to know about me.
Yeah, George, it's interesting that you just used the term accidental or accident. And when I was discussing with Matt the prospect of bringing you on as a guest, I described you as the accidental activist. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah. I think that's completely fair, because I mean, exactly like I said before, was very behind the scenes. So what happened was, with lockdown, we hadn't been able to see or meet anyone at all. So the only messages that were flying backwards and forwards were by Messenger or little Facebook updates, things like that. So the first real protest where I'd spoke out and done a big long speech in front of the general public was last year, when we did the protest against hate due to the recent spate of homophobic violence in Birmingham city centre, centred around Her Street. And so previous to that, I'd only really spoken at film festivals or at a number of different meetings. And so what happened is that I went as an opportunity to that protest to meet a lot of friends and other activists that I hadn't seen in a long time, because I knew that most of them would be there due to the nature of the protest. And so what was required in the protest was more people to speak that were from the local area and from the Birmingham scene, as opposed to local politicians and local members of the public which weren't part of our community. So Salman Mirza, who was the organizer of the protest, asked that I speak, because one of the reasons he wanted me to speak was that a lot of violence happens against the person of colour community within the LGBT spectrum. So he said it's very important to have Asian and black, I was going to say youth, but I don't think I qualify anymore, to speak out, that actually live in the Birmingham area. And so it was kind of accidental that I got pushed to the front, to actually speak for everyone. So it was a brilliant opportunity. I mean, I had nothing planned. But he said that actually made it better, because it wasn't a pre-rehearsed speech, and it wasn't a load of spiel with a load of catchphrases and words, that people are going to applaud. It literally just came from the heart. So I was speaking about recent violence that happened towards myself and my partner, you know, in the Birmingham area, that happened just a couple of months prior. And so that's what I think people needed to hear, was actual stories of things that had actually happened in the Birmingham area to people of the LGBT community. So it was brilliant. It was really, really good. I mean, it's very different from talking, say, at a film festival or at a mental health meeting, etc. Because I've done meetings like that where I've spoken offices and I've spoke at private gatherings, etc. And that's really, really good. But there's a certain difference when you're talking in general to members of the public, and especially to people that don't have the confidence to get up and speak. Is that you're kind of speaking for them, because there were a lot of people in that audience that I know had also been victims of violence, that don't necessarily have the confidence to get up and tell anyone about their private feelings about what it was like to have suffered that abuse. So for me to get up and actually say, you know what, yeah, this happened to me. I couldn't even get on a public bus, because there was a group of lads that didn't want me to get on that bus. And so for me to say that, I think reached out to a lot of people in that audience to say, you know what, we can talk about this, and the more we talk about it, the more likely we are to get a positive outcome. I know one of the positive outcomes that came from that protest was greater police presence on Her Street, which you can see regular patrols now going up and down, which makes you feel a lot safer. So I felt like something was accomplished.
Yeah, and the cameras as well. Cameras have just gone in place, haven't they? All the new CCTV cameras.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because I'm sure that Southside said that all the CCTV was working and they didn't need any more. We had everything under control. And so, but to see more CCTV is brilliant. We need things like that. We also need it to be of a sufficient quality where you can capture faces and you can capture number plates, because it is a really, really good deterrent. Because I mean, you want to deter people from doing anything in the first place. You don't want to catch people afterwards, because you don't want them to have committed the crime in the first place. And so I'd rather deter everyone from doing things like that than to have a bunch of victims that are able to find the perpetrators, because that's damage to people.
And I know from previous conversations we've had that that different cultures have very different engagement and experiences of LGBT plus community. You say that's right? Yeah.
Because I mean, speaking on behalf of the Asian community, I mean, you can split us. We're a whole spectrum there. You've got Bangladeshi, Pakistani, Indian, Nepalese, Sri Lankan, and then if you go to the Middle East, you've got the Arabic cultures there. In general, we're a couple of steps behind the white LGBT community. We're still very closeted. We're not able to speak freely about our feelings or about our place in the world. So a lot of Asian youth, we grow up having a double life. So you have the public life, which is your straight self. You're going to get married, you're going to have kids, and then you've got your actual self, in which you know that you're gay or lesbian or trans, and you can't really come out and speak about it. And so from my perspective, like I was fortunate enough to have a family that was very accommodating to me, and so they didn't have an issue at all with me being gay. And so 99% of my family are fully supportive. There's always going to be that 1% that aren't. But speaking to other people in the Asian community, they don't have that kind of support. They're out on their own, and so they don't have aunties and uncles or cousins or brothers and sisters they can rely on. It's just them. And so I'm quite fortunate. And so I think that's why my activism takes a different route to most other people's, whereas I'm perfectly happy to speak, at public gatherings or in private meetings, corporate or not. I kind of like to get out and about and say on a night out or just a coffee down at the loft, maybe. I like to try and spark conversation with other Asian Black LGBT people there, just to find out what their experiences are, maybe offer some of my own experiences as well, because the majority of people that I've spoken to are clubbing, in different cities, just so that no one, will recognize them. And so a lot of the time when I'm speaking to them, they're saying, well, look, the only reason I'm out is because, I'm from Bradford, and I've come all the way to Birmingham because I won't be recognized here. And so, which I think is a really, really sad thing, because our white LGBT counterparts, I'm not saying all of them have had it easy, they don't have to leave their city or, their county or even country to go to Scotland, etc., Wales, to go clubbing. I remember talking to one Asian lad that had come from a small village in Wales, and so he'd come all the way to Birmingham because he felt like he couldn't breathe, where he lived. And so my activism takes a different route, where I just want to speak to people and tell them that there are other options. Arranged marriages, you don't have to have an arranged marriage unless you want to. There are outreach programs, that will help you, to find accommodation in different cities, so that you can have the life that you want. You don't have to live a lie or live under false pretense and maybe come out the closet 50 years later, when you're at the last stages of your life, when really you should have been enjoying your life from the get-go.
Yeah.
Do you think changes are occurring within the attitudes to gay lifestyle?
Yeah, definitely. I think they are changing at maybe a slower pace, but they are changing. I mean, from my experiences growing up in the 80s and 90s, it was a no-go. It wasn't talked about. It wasn't discussed. There was no option. You were straight, and that's it. Gay people did not exist. Trans people did not exist at all. And so, but more recently, now that the Asian community started to modernize, the relatives in India and Pakistan and places like that, they're modernizing. They've been modernizing for a long time. So other thoughts and opinions are reaching the surface now, and there's more open discussion. I've been in a number of Asian groups, such as Open Minds, Finding a Voice, where we're finding more and more people now that are actually having open conversations with their parents about what they feel or how they identify, which going back 10 years ago, it wouldn't have even, been something that we could even mention. It was taboo. And so, but now, even if the parents aren't accepting, they're willing to talk a lot of the time now, even if they don't agree. Whereas before, there was no forum with parents, to do that. On a side note, one of the things I found within the Punjabi community in Coventry and Birmingham is that it took a lot of bad things to happen for something good. And so my reasoning for that is that the Asian community has always had a problem with alcoholism and drugs, etc. And so as like my parents' generation were growing up, and what was right was right, what was wrong, they've now had to start changing because their kids have maybe become alcoholics, or their kids have maybe become addicted to drugs. People have judged them. And it's from those judgments that they've realized that, everything's not black and white, and everything we thought that was right isn't right, and everything we thought was wrong isn't wrong. And so they've realized now that, like, well, people are judging my kid because he was an alcoholic, and people are judging my kid because he was taking drugs. So maybe I was wrong about the whole gay thing as well. So I shouldn't have judged so-and-so's kid for coming out as gay. So what I found is a lot more of my parents' generation are more accommodating now and want to know and are happy to see you happy, because that's a common word that I keep finding amongst a lot of the parents that I've spoken to and a lot of the community is, so long as you're happy, because they've realized now that having a wife and kids or having a husband and kids doesn't equal happiness for a lot of people. Happiness is being with someone that you love, or being on your own and just being happy. And so we were kind of brainwashed back in my time to believe that there was one route for happiness, and that was to get married and have kids. But now it's kind of the bad stuff has kind of opened up other possibilities for the Asian community. So that was my reasoning for saying that bad things can actually create good things in the end.
Wow.
Well, that sounds like perfect sentiment to finish our chat on, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I was gonna ask one. I wanted to throw in one thing. It's interesting because from outside the UK, we're starting. I think all of us can kind of see there's this phenomenon going on as far as increase in hate crimes when it comes in the LGBTQ community. And any thoughts on why and why now?
Well, my personal belief is that because the Conservatives have been in power for 10 years, so a lot of them voted against equal rights for the LGBT community. They voted against marriage. A lot of them would love to bring Section 28 back, I believe, and they are pushing for it because they want any reference of people being gay or anything taken out of schools, primary schools, secondary schools, etc., because they're saying it's not appropriate.
Yeah.
So I think when you have a government that makes it so obvious that they're against LGBT people, specifically the trans community right now, it gives people the confidence to say, well, okay, the government are saying it, I can say it now, and I can do what I want because Boris Johnson doesn't care,
Yeah.
So it's kind of the government are enabling them to do it. And so that's what's happening with it.
Yeah, it's interesting. And it's that global nature. We've always said that the world is becoming more connected, more global, but I mean, I think in some ways we can see that it truly is now, because we're not just connected, but we're sharing these ideas and we're sharing these thoughts. And so even between yesterday and today, I've seen so much as far as a campaign in the UK right now, because it's all about ban conversion therapy is moving forward in the government, but not for the transgender community. And the way over the last few weeks, when the LGBT community has really banded together in the UK for this, is amazing to see. And then when you transpose, or should I say juxtapose that on top of all the crazy stuff that's going on here in the US. And I mean, yes, we had a Donald Trump for 4 years, and now we have everything going on in Florida. And I don't think that we're in a bubble. I think that you guys see that probably as much as we do in terms of how that affects people. And we always look at the positive of being connected and sharing ideas and concepts and collaborating, but it seems like this is the negative side of it as well.
I'd say, as also related on that Asian subject, is there's a massive push right now amongst the Asian activists for more visibility and more, understanding. There's a group of activists based in London, and they run a group called Hungama, and they're a multitude, gay, lesbian, trans, and so they're very visible on Instagram and everything. And so they're like the next generation, because I'm pushing it a bit now, getting a bit older. And they are very visible, and they're doing some brilliant things in London, making it very visible. And they're fighting on social media with people, for people to understand and to relate to them. And so really, really good. So I think now, it's like I said, we're catching up at a slower pace, but we are catching up because there are a lot of Asian activists coming up, and I think we're going to see a lot of changes in the next few years.
I'm an optimist, and listening to you gives me hope.
Yeah. I used to be like years ago. I mean, have you seen that show Heartstopper?
No.
Episodes from the end.
Oh yeah, because I won't ruin it or anything, but it's just a fresh, beautiful love story between two school kids.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's no stereotypes in there, and there's no naughtiness, and it's just pure, and it's really, really nice. And it's something that I think all of us could have benefited from if we'd had more programs like that when we were going through school, because it makes me think of all the bad times I had at school and everything, and not knowing what my feelings were or anything. So if I'd seen something play out like that, it would have been great, to understand and to know, that these are the feelings that I've got, and it can be something good. It's not something dirty or seedy or anything at all. But you definitely got to watch Heartstopper.
It's on my list, and it's gone global as well. It's here on Netflix, and everyone in the US is raving about it. So yep, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, my partner and I have been watching it this week. We've done 6 episodes, and after the first episode, we were very aware we were watching something that was geared towards teenagers. But we were all teenagers at one point ourselves, and we've all been there. So you can completely relate to it.
Yep.
My partner did turn to me and go, "That was great, but I do feel like I've just watched an after-school special."
I found it quite hit close to home. Like some of the issues that they deal with in the program were quite hard to watch, because straight away it just made you relive some of the memories that you'd kind of shut out and didn't want to think about again, because I think the LGBT community were really good at forgetting, pushing deep down, you know, the bad things that happened in school. And I spoke to a number of my friends that said, you know, it was difficult for them to watch because they related so much to the program that it brought back a lot of bad memories that they'd forgotten. And so it was, as brilliant as it was also, you know, really difficult to watch.
Yeah, interesting. Well, no, mostly I'm so glad you were able to take a few moments of your time and share some of your story with our audience. And
That's okay. I hope I hope it was, you know, you found something from it. So.
I think myself and I think a lot of folks will. So thank you so much, and thank you to John for putting this together for us.
Oh, it's been nice just having a chat with a mate.
Exactly. So thanks again, and we look forward to connecting soon.
Definitely.
All right, take care now.
And it feels good, so good.